Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. I have three of the currently most popular phone gimbals on the market today. The DJI OSMO Mobile 7P, the Insta360 Flow 2 Pro, and the Hohem iSteady V3 Ultra. Spoiler alert, these two are going back. They're already back in their boxes. This isn't going to be a review of the units per se, but I just wanted to address some of the big issues that I found when I was testing these units. The issues that I found were not really addressed in many of the review videos that I've watched. My three main criteria for a mobile phone gimbal are Android compatibility, the ease of reframing while I'm tracking myself, and object tracking. In terms of Android compatibility, my phone is the Sony Xperia 1 Mark V. I know it's not the latest and greatest, but I'm still very happy with the quality of the photos and the videos that I get from the stock camera application. So I don't really feel the need to upgrade to a new camera. The built-in phone app can do 4K 30 frames per second or 1080p 60 frames per second. All of these gimbals Android application only goes up to 30 frames per second even on 1080p. I usually shoot my videos in 1080p 60 frames per second, so I really miss the 60 frames per second on the Android applications for these gimbals. I will start with the DJI OSMO Mobile 7P. And this one, to me, the Android application is useless because I find that there are many situations where when I'm recording a video, the video quality is very choppy. It looks like 15 frames per second, and I don't know why that is, but the videos, when it's like that, it's very unusable and unacceptable. The Flow 2 Pro, even though it's a little bit better than the DJI Mimo app, is still doing the choppiness from time to time. And I guess if you're not really recording mission critical videos, I think it's okay. But to me, that's unacceptable because you do not know when it's gonna start doing that. You might go to a really good location, take your time to shoot your video, and then get home and find out that the parts that you really want to put in your final video are unusable. So I'm having a really hard time trusting the phone apps on these. So basically, both of these gimbals, I have to use the AI tracker because that's the only way they can track outside their respective Android applications. On the other hand, the Hohem do not depend on the Android application. Yes, it does have its own Android application that looks and feels similar to these other two, but this one, all the features are actually being run by the software inside the unit itself. So it's not depending on your phone. Like you can do object tracking, you can do obviously people tracking, and you can do motion time-lapse on this just with the software built in. The other two, if you're, for example, doing the motion time-lapse or having to record an object, you have to be in their respective Android applications. In terms of reframing while you're already tracking yourself, I find that the DJI OSMO Mobile 7P to be easier than the Insta360. The DJI has this gesture which is supposed to allow you to reframe, but I don't really know what the difference is between this and actually just stopping and restarting the tracking because they both act the same to me. The DJI also, when you first start up the unit, just using the AI tracker with no Android application, and you start tracking, it actually places me in how I typically like to frame myself. Like you can see how I'm currently framed right now, where my eye level is around 1/3 of the frame. The AI tracker on this is similar. In contrast, the Insta360, when I'm using just the AI tracker and I start tracking myself, it actually places me in similar framing and composition as the DJI. But when I'm using the Insta360 application, it tends to place my face right in the middle of the frame. Also, I find that the reframing while tracking with the Insta360 is very cumbersome, as I'll show you later in this video. The Hohem, on the other hand, is the best of all the three in terms of reframing while tracking. It actually distinguishes between actually stopping and the L gesture. When you compose your frame and you stop it with the Hohem, and then you recompose and then you restart, it's actually going to put you back to where you previously were when you stopped the application. If you need to recompose yourself, you do the L gesture and you move, and then you do it again, and then it's going to start following you with the new framing. What I found really cool with the Hohem app though is that even after you turn off the unit and then you turn it back on, it still remembers the composition and framing that you had from the previous session. The Insta360 and the DJI both will reset your composition to their defaults. The next thing I wanted to address is the object tracking. I don't really plan on using the object tracking a lot, but it's good to have, especially when I'm trying to film for B-rolls, and then I can have the whatever I'm trying to showcase be in the center of the frame and then kind of pan the camera around it. I also want to use it when I'm flying my kites. I want to be able to have the kite on the ground, track it with the gimbal, and then take off, and then have the gimbal follow it all the way up into the air. Yes, I'm not expecting it to track it all the way up in the air when it's like a tiny dot in the sky, but at least I can have it tracking while I take off or land the kite back to the ground. The DJI will only track objects when you're in the Android Mimo app. And as I said, the Mimo app for me is useless because of the choppiness while recording. So basically, if you're gonna buy this gimbal for Android, you need to be able to test it out and return it if the application is unusable to you. It will still do very good at tracking people, but without the app, object tracking is basically non-existent. Similar to the DJI, the Insta360 also needs its Android application to do any object tracking. The Hohem, as I said earlier, it does not need its Android application. It will do object tracking from the detachable screen. This remote, by the way, is seeing the same thing that the sensor is seeing. So that's really cool. When you have to track an object, you just basically draw a box around your object and it's going to start tracking it. And yes, the screen on here is very small. I think the diagonal is rated at 1.22 inches, but the screen itself is very responsive. It's just like a cell phone. And the user interface, I think it's well optimized for the size of the screen, so you don't really do any unintentional button presses and you're always pressing the correct buttons. So this is what the AI tracking is like on the DJI. So I'm not tracking right now. I'm watching myself on a wireless LCD monitor. I just turned on the unit, so I haven't tracked yet. And if I start here and I start tracking, it's gonna keep me on that frame. Wait. And I start tracking, it's going to keep me on that frame. See? Stop tracking again. Go to the middle. This is usually how I like to frame myself. And see, with the DJI, it's very easy. I don't really know what the difference is between this and then you move and reframe, and then you do it again and it tracks you on the reframe. So I don't really know what the difference is between just stopping the tracking, moving yourself, and then track again, because to me it's basically the same thing. It's doing the same thing. So the DJI, if you're just using the AI tracker module without the phone app, the DJI is much better than the Insta360. And let me show you why. The issue that I have with the framing of the Insta360 is it's very hard to frame yourself like this when you're only at arm's reach away and you're trying to frame yourself, because when you're really this close to the camera and then you step back, it's usually a different composition. Like right now, the top of the frame is really close to my head, so I kind of want that to be up. So I go to it, do a little bit up, and then step back. So I did too much, so I do down again. Okay, just a tiny bit up. So yeah, so that's about perfect. This is how I like to compose my shots. And when I step here, remember with the DJI, when I step aside and then I do the reframing, or I do the tracking, start tracking again, the DJI would actually keep me on the right side of the frame. But this one, it actually tracks me from where I set it previously. See? So I can compose my shot at the beginning of a session, for example. And then from then on, I can stop, do something, and then start it again. Ideally, it's gonna keep the composition, and that's what you really want. Again, the DJI, if you stop it, you move here, it's gonna keep this frame, but this one, it keeps the frame that you set initially. If you turn it off, turn it on. Okay, connect the camera again. Let's start. So actually the framing on the AI tracker is the composition. I kind of like the composition. It obviously it doesn't keep the framing from the previous session when you power cycle the unit, but at least I like this composition. But if we use the application, see this one, this app will center me. Oh yeah, I'm centered. See? Yeah, I'm centered. Because if I go down, yeah, I'm definitely centered on the frame. See, this is another thing I don't like about this app. It always gives me all these pop-ups. It's so annoying. So this is what the tracking is like with the Insta360 app. Right now it's tracking me. But if I want to reframe, see, I'm pressing the button, the joystick all the way to the right, and it's not doing it. It's like it doesn't want to reframe me. Okay, left, it does. And then right again, it does it slowly. Let's do up. Up. So I'm pressing it all the way up and it's not. Let's do down. Down. It doesn't want to do it either. So this is what I'm talking about. It's just such a pain. What are you doing? I didn't notice at the time, but the Insta360 application actually switched to time-lapse mode all by itself. I was only adjusting the joystick And I know I didn't touch the mode button or the jog dial on the controls. Oh, I'm in time lapse. See, I don't even know why it went to time lapse by itself. I was in... Okay, now it's tracking me. Yeah, it went to time lapse, and I don't know why it did that. But anyways, I don't know. So let's do the thing again. Right, left works. Up. It sort of works, but it's... See how... It'll keep going down, and it doesn't want to go down. If I want to, for example, if I want to cut my head off this way from the frame like that, I cannot do it. See, down. It like the unit thinks it knows better than you, and I hate that. Left, right works, but it just doesn't want to do it. Yeah, it's tracking me. But yeah, see, this is exactly what I'm talking about with this unit, which is why I cannot use this unit with this app. But okay, you say grid, right? Okay. That's okay, but I think my head with this framing grid, my head is a little bit, it places my head too close to the edge of the frame, and I like a little bit more padding than that. But with this app, you don't have a choice apparently, because it's either one of those squares or it's nothing. So one thing I found about the tracking grid is when you want to use the tracking grid on yourself, when you're like in front of the camera. For example, I want to set it and then run in front of the camera and then just press track and then hope that it's going to track me properly. But I cannot do that because when the application is not tracking anything, you see, the framing grid is not there. So you cannot even set it before you're tracking something. So if you're trying to track yourself with that framing grid, you have to basically track something first, set the framing grid, stop tracking, and then you can run in front of the camera and track yourself. And then it's gonna have the correct framing grid. But every time you turn on the unit, it defaults to the center tracking grid. I don't know why they did it like that. They could have put the tracking grid here even when you're not tracking anything. Yeah, so the composition between this AI tracker without the app and with the app are different. The app centers you. This one, the AI tracker, will compose the shot much better than the Insta360 app. So there is a bug in the Insta360 software. Right now I don't have the unit on, but if I turn the unit on with the phone and the phone clamp already attached, see what happens. And I try to track myself. See, it's not tracking. It does this every time. See this red light right here? That should turn green when I do this. And it's not tracking. Sometimes when I press the button, the trigger, it works. See, it kind of works right now. But see what it's doing? It says it's green. That's green. That means it's supposed to be tracking, but it just kind of goes off on its own. Let's try it again. Okay, I'm back here. Let's see if it works now. See, it's still not tracking me. If I try to press the trigger, it's green, and this one blinks green, which is indicating that it's tracking, but it's not really seeing me. See, it's actually avoiding me. Yeah, it's actually avoiding me. Let's try that again. Okay, go up. Okay, I'm gonna start tracking. See, I don't know why it's doing that. It, it, it is blinking green, which is indicating that it's supposed to be tracking someone. Okay, it saw me and then it avoids me. And the way I found to fix that is I just disconnect the phone clamp, and then I'm just gonna put it back. So now it should track me. See? So yeah, it does that every time. I guess it's an easy solution. Just don't have the phone and the clamp mounted when you turn on the unit, and it works okay. So this is the Hohem iSteady V3 Ultra. It's tracking me right now. I have the remote in my hand, and right now I'm centered in the frame, so let's recompose me to the right side, for example. Okay, so if I turn off the unit, then turn it back on. See, if I track myself, okay. See, even if after I power cycle the unit, it placed me where I set the framing previously before I turn it off and then turn it back on again. So I kind of like that. There are also smaller things that I found that are different between these three units. None of them are going to be a deal breaker, but I just wanted to mention it because to me they still do make a difference in how you operate or how you handle the device. The first thing is the tripods. I found that the DJI has the most unstable tripod of the three. The tripod legs on this unit is the shortest and it is the most flexy. I really have a hard time trusting this to hold my phone up while on the table, because I had an instance where I had the gimbal placed on the table and I had the phone tracking me, and I guess the gimbal rotated in a certain way that it actually knocked the gimbal down. The Insta360 actually has the most stable tripod of the three. I can trust this one even when the extendable selfie stick is fully deployed. The legs on this is metal. It is the longest of the three, and it's very rigid. The Hohem is actually in between the other two in terms of length, but the legs are much stiffer than the DJI and probably even stiffer than the Insta360. When I first saw pictures of this, the tripod looks a bit flimsy because I know it's metal, but you know how some metals are flexy, but this one it's very rigid. I don't know what kind of metal they use, if it's aluminum or stainless steel, but it's very rigid. It does not move at all. And as I said, it's probably more rigid than the legs of the Insta360, although this one is not as wide of a base. The next thing I wanted to address is the Insta360 and the DJI have a removable phone clamp. This one doesn't. The phone clamp is built in. And that's one of the other main reasons why I didn't really consider this initially, is because I thought that I have to have a detachable phone clamp. If you're using an iPhone or an Android with a MagSafe case, then a MagSafe is going to be more convenient with these. Obviously, you don't have that option with this unit. I found though that when I'm using the Insta360 and the DJI, I tend to try to put my phone into the clamp when the clamp is already connected to the gimbal. So I guess that aspect of having a removable clamp is not really that big of a deal to me, because I just prefer putting the phone off and on the gimbal when the clamp is actually attached to the gimbal. Anyways, that's just a quick video of these 3 units. I hope you find it helpful. A like and subscribe would really help my channel out. And with that, thank you everybody for your support and have a nice day. Peace out.
Don't forget to subscribe.